Hello everyone. As you probably know, the third and final Seekers of the Storm roadmap update just dropped and introduced some excellent changes to the survivors. However, what a lot of people aren't talking about are the other modifications that they did to the game. Rather than going in depth on the numbers, I wanted to give you all a brief overview of what's changed, what we can expect moving forward, and what I hope they'll do to the game. Without further ado, let's get started. First, let's go over the survivor changes. Chef has been radically overhauled with a much stronger loadout and 2 new alternate abilities. You can throw out multiple cleavers at once, Seer is massively buffed, Oil does tons more damage, and Roll now even lets you super jump to your death. My favorite change though has to be this one. Change the name of Chef to Chef. The alternates are also really well designed, and I recommend you go try them out for yourselves. I also really liked his ending phrase. Overall, I really enjoyed playing Chef after this update and give the devs 2 thumbs up for this one. Next, we have Nabbit. False Sun. His moves had a few nerfs, but most of the changes were centered around his attacks feeling smoother. He now reminds me a ton of the Paladin mod, and really feels like a lesser Mithrix or Providence. Aside from some damage rework for the club, the main change to the base loadout is that you can now throw lunar spikes when sprinting, and charge attacks when dashing. I have heard that the alternate abilities for him are great too, but I haven't had the time to unlock them yet. Overall, I think these changes are excellent for the user experience. False Sun has a huge health pool, and winning with him is a breeze. Initially, I was pretty against how easy the game is with him, but after thinking on it for a while, it won't affect much at all. For the experienced players, Eclipse 8's permanent damage stops high HP from being too OP, and for new players who are still learning the game, False Sun is a great bit of fun and adds good variety to the survivor roster. I wouldn't mind his attack speed being lowered a little bit, but otherwise I think he is finally a worthy addition to the game. Finally, we have Seeker. Although most people already considered her well balanced, the developers added even more. Tranquility now strengthens other abilities significantly more, the one most effective being Meditate. Meditate now explodes significantly farther and for more damage per stack, which balances things out pretty well because the new alternate, Palm Blast, is a worthy competitor. Instead of gaining Tranquility through a quick time event, you can now obtain it by hitting 3 enemies at once with your new attack. She also gained a new movement alternate ability and buffs on her other attacks. Last but not least, Tranquility can finally revive allies properly. They also changed the self-heal from Tranquility from a power elixir style to a full revive. This means Tranquility will no longer protect your watches and your power elixirs, but it does mean that on Eclipse 8, it will reset your permanent damage. Some people are saying that Seeker has been buffed so much, she's even better than Loader now. Personally, I really didn't think she needed to be more powerful, but the alternate abilities are certainly welcome. Power creep will often happen throughout continuous updates to games, and this will most likely just be another example of that. Alright, now let's talk about some of the other changes they made to the game, not related to survivors. During the Devotion update, they stopped time when in the void fields. Then they made time resume when you aren't in a safe zone, and increased the damage from fog over time, and made enemies also get items over time. And now the void fields do less damage than before. GEARBOX really seems to be all over the place on updating the void fields, and I'm not quite sure why. They were just fine before. They also buffed Elusive Antler, Bolstering Lantern, and Unstable Transmitter. Antlers will now spawn more orbs, and will spawn them quicker. Bolstering Lantern now gives you a higher attack speed per item stack rather than a longer activation range, and Unstable Transmitter now gives almost double the barrier, and no longer has that silly 45-second cooldown. I really like these changes, as it makes them much better at stacking, and really puts them on par with the base game items. I didn't expect them to continue tweaking the DLC items, and I am very pleasantly surprised. The False Sun boss Colossus laser damage ramp up no longer carries over between runs. Really, Gearbox? Really? This is what happened? They also made it to where Chef's Gooboo Jr clones cannot be possessed by the Void, and they get the benefits from spare drone parts, that being a machine gun, a missile launcher, and extra damage. I didn't even know this until this bug fix, but apparently Multi has this as well. They also fixed the forbidden pizza attack when using the breaching fin, but that's okay. They replaced that bug with yet another decent glitch. Maybe Mythrix just really hates being called Italian. Alright, that's about everything new they added into the update, and while there are still a few things that are rough around the edges, I really appreciate how much time they put into fixing all of this and not just leaving us with a broken game. You can dislike what they did with the DLC, believe me, I do too, but they really tried and they did fix it in the end. There's still a few things I would like to see changed, like the false sun dialogue lines are so awful, it's so corny, and the laser is still way too OP even with that fix, because there's not enough cover and it locks onto you. But in general, the game is back to a playable and enjoyable state. As for the future of Risk of Rain, nobody knows what will happen in the hands of Gearbox. I think it is fair to say there might be a sequel pretty soon, and my reasoning for that is fourfold. First, what is the first thing that Gearbox tried to do with the IP when they bought it? They made a gacha mobile game. They're clearly looking for a way to add more to the franchise. Additionally, Risk of Rain 2 made them more money than any game they have ever made or published, and it would be financially foolish for them to not make a sequel. I think I can even hypothesize what the game will be about. The main director seemed very interested in increasing the lore about the origins of the Cyclops, which we know is tied to Nuka-Hana.
There's a lot of directions that we could go in it. Pretty much every direction is interesting. There's High Court, there's heretics, there's the two brothers. Where do they come from? Are there more of them? What is the space sickness that keeps them locked and isolated on this planet? Does that apply to all Cyclopses?
I always assumed that space sickness was the lack of ability to breathe. Anyways, additionally, the false sun escape phrase seems potentially linked, as the only voices in the lore similar to this are from her. If there's anything we can learn from AAA in the past, it is that an artistic mystery will never survive. So I think it is reasonable to say that there is a good chance Nuka-Hana and the false sun will be central to the next game. I also think it is very easy to assume that more DLCs will come out, as they have a good financial incentive to do so. I actually hope they release DLCs instead of updates, as we can toggle those on and off to keep the item variety low and not damage the balance of the game too much. Lastly, I would like to share a little bit about what I hope they'll do to Risk of Rain, and seeing how they have treated the game so far, what I hope is not impossible. A few quality of life and balance fixes could be excellent peace offerings to the community. For example, stopping the self-inflicted damage from counting on Eclipse 8 for Rex and Void Fiend, and buffing a few of the weaker abilities on the base survivors. I also hope they really flesh out the game before moving on to new content. For example, adding night variants was super cool, but only a few stages have them. Seeing that on the desert stage or on Sky Meadows could be spectacular. As for the lore, I have very little hope for it being preserved well, but if they are willing to backtrack so much from the DLC, maybe they're willing to keep the story quality enough. By the way, if you're curious on why I think so highly of the story, I'll link a video down in the description that shares the experience well. I highly recommend you go try to figure it out for yourself through the logbooks first, though. And that's about it. Please let me know in the comments if you think I'm wrong or if you have other opinions. I do read them and I really appreciate new perspectives. See you next time.